First, it's congratulations to 12 alumni of Wittenberg University at Springfield to be inducted into the university's Athletic Hall of Honor on the evening of June the 6th. The group is headed by Gary Tranquil, the head football coach at Navy, and Eldon Miller, the basketball coach at Northern Iowa. Moving to Cedarville. Cedarville College is a Baptist university located about 10 miles northeast of Xenia. And our Mike Gallagher visited the school this week to meet one of the best athletes in the school's history.
At first glance, Jane Brooker appears to be a typical track and cross-country runner. She warms up the way other runners do, has the same style as many successful runners, and has many of the same goals of a track and field athlete.
I have run the 1500 and the 3000, but basically just stayed with 800 because I liked it more. And but I think after I get out of college, trying to get into some track clubs and run more.
But when one gets to know the Jane Brooker story, one finds out in a hurry that Jane is no ordinary athlete. What is remarkable about Jane Brooker's story is not so much her track and field accomplishments, although those are many, but the fact that prior to coming here to Cedarville College, she had absolutely no athletic experience whatsoever. Jane is in the senior year of what has been a remarkable stay at Cedarville. She has set no less than 7 school records in both indoor and outdoor competition, and last year was named All-American. All this involving a girl from a small town in Pennsylvania who just wanted to try out for the cheerleading squad.
It was a JV squad, and I had been a cheerleader all through high school, and I came and I didn't make it. I talked to a fellow cross-country runner.
Arkansas for the NAIA National Meet, and Jane plans on competing in the 1500-meter event, an event she's never tried before. But no one at Cedarville seems to mind. Jane is used to blazing trails, usually with a huge amount of success. From Cedarville College, Mike Gallagher, TV2 Sports.
Good story. And finally, on our college report to the university.
Opposite side, the field for the 800 meters. A couple of records that have been around for a long time. 83 for the world mark, 85 for the American record.
And like the 200-meter runners, they've had to stand around while Powell took his jump. Very hard to have your concentration correct when you're trying to run a race, and all sorts of things are going on, but that's what's exciting about track and field. And this is an excellent matchup. We talked about it at the top of the show. Joetta Clark, who's won 4 outdoor championships, matched up against Meredith Rainey, woman who was 5th at the World Championships outdoors last year.
Shola Lynch moving out to the front.
And it looks like Joetta Clark, actually, who's jumped now into the lead. Lynch in the early lead. Clark also ran collegiately here. We'll see if she has the home track advantage, as Nikita Beasley now up in 2nd.
So it's Joetta Clark, Nikita Beasley, Meredith Rainey, Amy Wickes.
And I think Clark and Rainey have to be a little bit careful not to focus too much on one another, because Beasley and Wickes are the kinds of athletes who, if they relax and run their race and let others fight it out, can pick up pieces in the home stretch. 58.92, very fast first lap running for Clark. She obviously feels that that fast first lap is going to be to her advantage. Rainey looks a little bit nervous. It looks as if she doesn't feel comfortable where she is, but she can't get around Beasley. Wickes very relaxed on the inside. She's got to be careful not to get stuck there. Clark running a very mature race, as she always does, pushing it in this third 200 meters.
It's Meredith Rainey coming up on the outside, number 731, chasing down Joetta Clark. They are going 1-2.
Rainey looked like she was overstriding just a bit. She might have gotten bumped there, and that might have caused the overstriding. And Clark doing well to hold her off. But watch out for Wickes in 3rd place. If these two have battled too hard around this turn, Wickes could run by them in the home stretch.
Trying to spot an opening between them, but she's not going to get one, I don't think. It's going to be Joetta Clark and Meredith Rainey. And here comes Wickes finding an opening maybe on the inside. Joetta Clark holding on, reaching, and it's Joetta Clark.
A well-deserved victory for Joetta Clark. Anybody that's willing to take the lead and push the pace deserves a victory like that. Meredith Rainey spotted her some distance, couldn't make it up. Wickes tried to sneak back by on the inside. Clark shut that down and won the race.
So Joetta Clark, University of Tennessee, 19. The
women's 800-meter run. World record in this event, Jarmila Kratochvílová of the Czech Republic, 153.26. That's one. Jamie McNair, a heptathlete, in 4. Jessica Kluge in 5. Jennifer Buckley in 6. Kim Toney in 7. And Hope Sanders will run out of lane 8. They will run the first turn, all in lanes, and then break for the pole on the backstretch. And Marty, who would you say is the one to watch in this race?
Well, Kim Toney starting out in lane 7, but you know, the festival record of 2 minutes is really a tough record to shoot at. There's no one in this field that would be capable of that unless someone were to run the first 400 meters in about 58 seconds. I don't think we'll see that today, but we'll see those as a stadium record because it's a new track. What I'm interested in is how the athletes handle the turns here. And some of the longer distances, when they get into the middle of the turn and the turn flattens out, they've had problems stepping on the curve.
Well, Leslie Noel Main of the West, semifinalist at the National Championships, is really pushing the pace this first lap. Now she'll get some wind at her back. The fight for second place between Hope Sanders of the North and Jennifer Buckley of the East is now Jane Brooker of the East moves up into second place, and we're coming up with just 1 lap to go. They went through in 59 seconds, 59.4. That's a good, solid first lap.
That's a real surprise to me that anyone was this aggressive. We'll see how the field handles this. I think a lot of people were caught by surprise that anyone would be that aggressive. And there's a lot of people out there that look like they've got very heavy legs. But the leader, Leslie Noel Main, doesn't look too bad. She looked like she's handling that fast pace very well.
Considering she's only run 2:10.5 this year, only a semifinalist at our national championship, she is going for it all with 200 to go. Jane Brooker of the East trying to catch her, and the rest are just playing for third.
Well, you are right, Dwight. That's incredible that she's got a 2:10 best, and she went out on a pace which would probably be a 2:03 for 800 meters if she can just hang on. Right now, she's got to wonder if she can still win this race.
Jane Brooker, the veteran, though, knows how to run this race with about 60 meters to go. It's Leslie Noel Main, but she's being reeled in by Jane Brooker, 4th in the national championship. Will Brooker get her? Very close. Will probably have to go to the photo, but a huge personal best for Leslie Noel Main, whether she wins or not. 2:02.46 unofficially the winning time, and that's a breakthrough performance for Leslie Noel Main of the West.
Wow, that is really something to break, to knock 8 seconds off of your personal best, and to do it all by yourself, not to be in a race where you just hang on to the back and you're the caboose of a fast race. At the finish, I think that Leslie Noel Main hung on to it.
We will have to go to the photo for that. Look at the effort is being expended by both runners.
This is one of those races where if it had been 2 more yards, Jane Brooker, who was coming on fast, probably would have had the win because Leslie Noel had nothing left to react with.
Well, hearing that Leslie Noel Main is the winner and a huge breakthrough performance for her. She's downstairs without Brian Newner. Go, Brian.
Leslie, a very aggressive first lap. That seemed to be the game plan, and it paid off.
Absolutely. I wanted to get fast, being in lane 1, and if I get out to a good start, then I do much better in my races.
I'm sure you could feel the charge from behind, but look at that time up there. Unofficially, I believe it was 2:02. You have to be very pleased with that.
I'm very pleased with it. I didn't feel it coming on until just at the line, and we ran a great race.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
Craig Sigalo and Craig Masback as our Friday edition of U.S. Olympic Gold continues from Madison Square Garden, where once again the women are in the spotlight. It is the women's 800 meters. The American record is held for 12 years. Mary Slaney setting the mark in San Diego back in 1980. And here you see Joetta Clark winning the Millrose Games on these same boards earlier this month.
Sprinting by Meredith Rainey and Maria Mutola, 2 people who she'll face this evening as Joetta Clark runs for the Joe Clark International Track Club. Her father, famous Joe Clark, high school principal in New Jersey. And she'll face Anna Keyrote, #1 ranked 800-meter runner in the world a year ago. And as we mentioned, Meredith Rainey, a local product. grew up running on these boards in Fred Thompson's Colgate games.
And it'll be interesting to see how Anna Carote does. She has never run on a track of this size.
And she looked very poor in her first indoor race ever at the Mobile One Invitational on a 200-meter track. Afterwards, she went down to the University of Florida in Gainesville and said to train there for 2 weeks and said to the runners, teach me how to run indoor track.
Joetta Clark in the lead, but also watch Maria Mottola. We saw her with a great finishing kick. She won earlier this year as well.
She won the Sunkist meet, and I think she would have won the World Outdoor Track and Field Championships as a teenager, except that she just didn't know how to run tactically. And her coaches, Jeff and Margot Fund, have said you've got to learn to run from the front. You need to get out of trouble, and that's just what they have her doing here. Running very quickly right now.
Well, she's been shut out in the stretch. Right now, she wants to make sure she stretches the lead and she doesn't have to worry about that. Can she hold off Joetta Clark?
Well, Clark is such a savvy runner. She says she loves running against these younger athletes, that they reinvigorate her. But she's getting quite a challenge here from Maria Mottola from Mozambique, Maputo, Mozambique, where she used to play soccer on the street. Somebody said, why don't you join the soccer club? She did, and they said, well, no girls allowed on soccer teams, but we'll let you run track. And that's how she came to be one of the best in the world in her event.
Goes to Springfield, Oregon High School, and she has the lead.
Saw her earlier today. She was about to set off to see the World Trade Center, but now she faces a tough challenge in second from Meredith Rainey. Rainey, a very savvy runner.
And here comes Meredith Rainey on the outside of Maria Mottola. As they push each other. This time, Mottola stays out of trouble. Meredith Rainey is second. And Joetta Clark third.
Mottola, known as a physical runner, and unofficially has run very close to the high school record held by Mary Slaney, a record she was searching for. Now, what happened was Mottola was in the lead. Rainey made just the right move. Moved up alongside her to be in position, try to get by before the last turn. Mottola picked up the pace, didn't let Rainey by, but Rainey was going to stay there right on her shoulder, but she got too close. Mottola did nothing wrong. It was Rainey who chopped her stride, and really that put her out of the race as Mottola sprinted away to victory. Excellent running by both women. Rainey just leaned in a little too much, and Mottola running on the outside of the lane, as it is her right to do, to shut the door on Rainey.
And we saw Maria Mottola get in with Patty Sue Plummer, did we not, earlier?
That was in the Olympic gold race from the Prefontaine Classic last June. And Mottola in the home stretch in Tokyo got into a little bit of trouble. But here she's out ahead of the trouble and wins the race.
We're ready now for the women's 800 meters. The world record held by Jarmila Kratochvilova, 1:53.28, and the American record held by Mary Slaney at 1:56.90. In today's field, Celeste Halliday, Linda Shesky, Julie Jenkins, Carol Davidson, Debbie Marshall, Joetta Clark, Kathy Harris, and Jane Brooker. The favorite here, Julie Jenkins, will be starting out of lane 3. Dwight Stone, she's had 5 races this year, undefeated. And this will be a real test tonight.
Well, she's a real smart tactical runner, and she's also a front runner, as are 3 or 4 of the favorites in this particular race. It'll be very interesting to see who is willing to give up the lead to whom and exactly how fast they go through the first lap.
And that's Julie Jenkins starting in lane 3. Joetta Clark, number 501, should figure in the strategy. Joetta Clark, at 25 years old, has been ranked in the top 10 Americans for 9 years. And as they head out, we see the leader is Debbie Grant Marshall, Villanova graduate, her first year out of school, and she's running very well. Won her heat the other day in this heat, as we now see working to the front. Harris, who is running undertouch, but Kathy Harris now in the lead as Julie Jenkins moves up on the outside, and as they come up to the 400 meters, you might expect Julie Jenkins to try and make a move for the lead.
Well, she's running a little bit wide here, which may not affect her now, but she doesn't want to stay out there very long. You would expect her to make a move for the front between now and the first turn, when she goes through the first turn, because she wants to have control of the way this race is run.
All right, right now the leader, a surprise leader, Kathy Harris, 174. Some contact made there as Julie Jenkins says, I'm taking the lead, pushes her a little bit. 739 is Debbie Marshall, who has a real shot at running well here. Celeste Holliday now giving up 4th place to Joetta Clark as the race is on in earnest. 59.3 for the first 400 meters. They're right on 2-minute pace. Anything under 2 minutes is great. Great running for the American women.
Well, it's right on for the girls. They're at 129.7, so they're staying right at 2-minute pace. And Julie Jenkins is going to be challenged here with about 120 meters to go by Joetta Clark.
Joetta Clark now on the outside with a big move. Debbie Grant Marshall in red holding on. She was a winner in the heats yesterday. Julie Jenkins right now fighting hard for 2nd place and closing fast. Carol Davidson closing fast now, but it looks as if it's going to be Joetta Clark with a big win, dipping under 2 minutes slightly. 1:59.5 the unofficial time, and it looks as if Julie Jenkins will get 2nd. Debbie Grant Marshall will get 3rd, and Carol Davidson will get 4th. A lot of action in the middle of the turn as Joetta Clark started this race moving early.
She did a very smart thing. She let Julie Jenkins push the pace, take the flack of running in the front. You can see her, Julie Jenkins is really swinging her arms, but Joetta Clark made a very smart move, dropped in, and she is gone on this stretch run. She is lifting very nicely. She knows that 2 minutes was in the mix because she could see the clock, and Julie Jenkins, as you said, just holding on for 2nd. She is no longer undefeated in this particular year.
All right, 4th place will go to Carol Davidson. Linda Shetsky, one of our better 1,500-meter runners, was in that race. And we're looking for her to come across the line. She did not have as good a race as she would like to have in this preparation for the Olympic trials, but we certainly saw a good race from Joetta Clark. She's with Larry Ralston right now.
Joetta, your race. According to form, you look great out there. You need the sprints to be able to do well at the trials.
Yes, I've been working on endurance. Now it's time for me to get really serious into my speed work, which I will be going to be doing soon. I felt really good and comfortable in the last 110. I want to keep driving.
Now, you've run 158 before. A little windy out here today. Are you confident you're in the best shape of your life?
At this point in time, I'm not in the best shape of my life. Well, within 4 weeks, I will be.
Well, congratulations. Very fine race. Nice coming from behind victory.
Thank you very much.
So Joetta Clark dips under that magical 2-minute barrier and winning the 800-meter run.
Mary owning every women's American record from 800 meters to 10,000 meters. She's been doing this for a long, long time since she started as a pigtailed teenager. And we asked her what keeps her going into the future.
I love the sport. I love running, and I honestly think that it's natural for me to run. And I also think that sometimes the injuries and the setbacks that I've had have helped me to stay motivated in the sport. Because if I had at this point accomplished everything that I've set out to accomplish in my athletic career, I might be bored by now. But at this point, I'm so far from being bored. And I've got so much to prove to the rest of the world and myself at this point, especially after my performance at the Olympics, that it's almost like starting over again.
The world record held by Christine Wachtel of East Germany, 156.4. Mary Decker's American record, 158.9, set way back in 1980. I told you she's been doing this for a long time. Here is the way they will line up today for the women's 800-meter final. Starting in lane 1 will be Marcia Tate. In lane 2, Mary Decker-Slaney, the favorite. In lane 3 will be Delissa Walton Floyd, wife of sprinter Stanley Floyd. Lane 4 will be Essie Washington. In lane 5 will be Elisa Harvey. And lane 6 will be Jane Brooker.
This is a great race for one reason. I'm looking forward to this. Mary Slaney does not choose to run 800 meters very often. She said she's going to focus more on the mile this year as opposed to running 3,000 meters, which means you've got to drop down and run 800 meters on occasion. This is her first step. There she is. She's going against Alyssa Walton-Floyd, who, in my opinion, Bob, has been the most consistent American 800-meter runner going back over the last 4 years. She's tough. She's consistent. She's a very seasoned pro who finished 5th in the Olympics at 800 meters. And I think she'll give Mary all she can handle today. We'll see probably a fast pace and a very good early season time. Essie Washington, another top runner, is in this race.
Washington, the 87 national champion at this distance, running for the Santa Monica Track Club. Alyssa Harvey with the Athletics West Club, the 86 NCAA 1500-meter champion, and won the mile in this event last year when they ran a woman's mile. Jane Brooker with Athletes in Action with a best of 2:03.52 ostensibly would make her a little bit slow for this field, but as we've already pointed out, it takes a very different technique to run indoor track. Brooker not out of it by any stretch of the imagination, but Slaney with a PR of 1:56.9 stands as the likely favorite.
There you see Tate on the inside, Alicia Harvey in blue and white. Standing next to her in lane 3 is Delissa Walton-Floyd, Essie Washington on the outside, then Slaney, and Brooker on the outside. 5.5 laps around this track.
And Mary Decker Slaney goes high in the first turn and sticks out her hand to step away from Delissa Walton-Floyd. Slaney going right to the front.
Well, she likes to get out of traffic, and of course everybody who's ever followed sport at all and hasn't lived in a cave knows about the race with Zola Budd, where she didn't perform well and got knocked down in the race. So she likes to control the race, likes to stay out of trouble. Delissa Walton-Floyd, that I mentioned, is now in 4th, wearing red and white. Essie Washington is right up now in 2nd place.
Floyd with a PR of 1:57.8 figures to move up very shortly. Mary Slaney, in addition to changing track clubs, has also changed coaches. She is back with the head coach at the University of Oregon, Bill Dellinger, and is training with the men's team out at the University of Oregon. She says that's something that she needed. She was training all by herself before the 88 Games at Seoul. She says she needs that support group around her, and so she's running with the men now to get the kind of challenge she needs in training.
Delissa Walton-Floyd is showing that she took some time off in October, and it seems to have hurt her. She's back and out of it right now. Essie Washington in 2nd place, running well. The time is 62 seconds. A good, solid first 400 meters. Doing 2:03 early in the season. You're running well, 2:04. It looks like Slaney is applying the pressure here, Bob.
Slaney out front, Walton-Floyd in 2nd. Marcia Tate running well in 3rd.
Alicia Harvey's back in 4th place right now. Coming up to the gun lap, and it is Mary Slaney running well. Something to atone for her poor performances over there.
And you can see written in their faces as they came at you, Mary Slaney looking very determined and picking up the pace, while behind her, Delissa Walton-Floyd beginning to show the strain. On the backside, Alicia Harvey looking to take Marcia Tate for 3rd.
Let me just correct one thing in 2nd. That is Essie Washington. And it is Slaney down the home stretch.
Mary Slaney down to the finish. And the crowd comes to its feet to welcome her home. Unofficially 2:02.9. Once again, not a terribly fast early season time, but the first major meet of the year. That's not bad at all.
Essie Washington took 2nd. I believe it was Tate 3rd. And Alisa Harvey was 4th. The time 2:02 was impressive because she did it backwards, which is hard in running to do. The 2nd quarter mile, or 400 meters, was faster than the 1st.
So Mary Decker takes control early and runs to victory. Here is the stretch run.
One of the ways to try and gauge a pace, everybody at home, if you watch our meets regularly, is to watch the leg stride and the turnover. You can see she's accelerating. She pumps her arms harder, and it really gave her a lift, and she accelerated all that last 400 meters. It looks like she is fit and healthy and fine.
Let's go meet her now with Dwight.
Mary, you said one of the reasons you were running this distance is to get ready for some 1,000-meter runs and some miles and 1,500s later. Now that you've done it, are you glad you did it?
Extremely. I think I'm fitter to run faster here today, but I haven't run on the board for so long that I think it's done me a lot of good to come here and do this in preparation for the other meets.
Also, I don't think that you've run 800 indoors in a number of years.
I think in about 8 years, so it's different.
What do you think will be in store for you the rest of this indoor season?
Well, I think the competition, as I said yesterday, will be extremely tough in New York at the Melrose Games and then at the Meadowlands. I think running 2:02 here is going to be good preparation for trying to run a fast 1,000 next week. You know, and after that, I want to see how I feel through Millrose and through the Meadowlands, and then I may or may not, you know, run the TACs and then on to the World Championships. It's up in the air.
Well, we look forward to seeing a lot more of you this season.
Thank you.
And whatever the future may hold, Mary Decker Slaney has gotten 1989 off to a winning start here in Dallas, winning the women's 800 meters. Plenty of field events coming up when we return. 1980, 158.9. Here is the way they will line up for today's event. In lane 1, Jane Brooker from Athletes in Action. In lane 2 will be S.E. Washington from the Santa Monica Track Club. Elisa Harvey from Athletics West will be in lane 3. Countess Commodore from Southern University in lane 4. And Barbara Smith from Prairie View A&M in lane 5.
Well, this was an event in 1932 which set women's running back. Unfortunately, they did not prepare some 800-meter runners who were giving an exhibition at the Olympics well. They collapsed on the track, and everybody felt women couldn't run distances. That, of course, has been proven false over the years. But it is handicapped women. There you see Alicia Harvey right there, the NCAA champion. She's as good at 1,500 meters as she is at 800 meters. There's Countess Commodore from Southern University. And Barbara Smith on the outside from Prairie View round out the field.
Taking a look at the 800-meter run, it is a 160-meter track, 10 laps to the mile, so they will make 5 full laps for the 800-meter distance. 2.5 laps, obviously, will be the 400-meter split, and we'll get that for you as soon as the girls cross the mark. Once again, your lineup is Jane Brooker, S.E. Washington, Elisa Harvey, Countess Commodore, and Barbara Smith. Runners are called to the start.
Let's see who breaks out there. There goes S.E. Washington. She's working as an assistant coach at Prairie View down the road. About 40 miles the university is outside of Houston. In second place, that is Countess Commodore, who has moved in a second. Third is Barbara Smith. And people you would expect to be up in the lead, Alicia Harvey, really trailing the rest of the pack. Here comes Harvey moving up, wearing the Athletics West outfit.
Moving up on the outside, S.E. Washington ran a very strong race in Dallas 2 weeks ago, but was unable to run down Mary Decker Slaney, one of the premier races of the evening. But right now, you see S.E. Washington opening up a big lead. Now here comes the field. 286 in yellow is Countess Commodore. Behind her, Elisa Harvey of Athletics West. Slowly closing the gaps once again.
Bob Washington likes to run from the front. Tall, angular. She's our 1987 TAC outdoor champion. Here comes Harvey. The cream is beginning to move up here to the top. And there goes Harvey. Very strong over the last lap she is because of her 1,500-meter experience.
A former runner at the University of Tennessee, Harvey barely 5'3". S.E. Washington considerably taller and longer-legged, and you can see the difference that it makes. The shorter girl has the advantage on the tight turns of this track.
Very fine 400-meter time, 59.7 for the first 400 meters. This is about as fast as the ladies run, maybe 1 or 2 seconds faster ever.
S.E. Washington showing a little bit of the strain. Right behind her, Elisa Harvey back in third place. Jane Brooker trying to make her way up. But right now, Elisa Harvey and S.E. Washington are the entire race. Washington desperately trying to hold off Harvey, who tried to get her going into the turn. Let's see if they get her on the straightaway.
Well, it's a woman with more sprint speed on the inside, and that is S.E. Washington trying to hold off Harvey, the woman with the 1,500-meter stamina, as they come up to the gun lap.
Once more around this 160-meter track. There you see Washington in front, Harvey in second. Harvey makes a move on the outside. Coming up strong. Washington tries to hold her off.
Watch this home stretch, Bob. This is going to be interesting. I think Alicia's got a little left.
S.E. Washington leads the way. Elisa Harvey will not be able to do it, and Harvey backs off after a tremendous race. Give it to S.E. Washington. Elisa Harvey second. Jane Brooker comes home third.
The time unofficially, 2 minutes, 4 and 9/10 of a second. Very good time on this 10-lap track. This is a fast oval, 3/4-inch thick pilot, very high in the bankings.
Let's look at the last lap once again. I'll be honest with you, Larry. I thought Elisa Harvey was going to be able to take it away, but I think this was the critical moment in the race.
I do too, you know, and Essie ran like she was running out of a little bit of steam. Her arm action had changed. Her stride had shortened down just a little bit, and I thought she was being pressed here. And usually the 1,500-meter runner has the advantage here. You see them just before the tape. No, they're coming. Yeah, it is. But it's Washington really that held on. I'm surprised. A very fine victory in good time for S.E. Washington.
Dwight Stones is with the winner now.
Lisa Harvey made 3 or 4 challenges that day on the turn and the straightaway. Did you feel that you'd be able to hold her off throughout the race?
I thought I would. Well, she's a 1,500-meter runner, so I know that she has strength, but I have been having some really good practices this year, working on my strength, so I felt that I could hold her off.
It's a real study in body types. You're tall and angular, not really fit for indoor running, but Elisa Harvey's a little smaller, closer to the ground, but you held her off very nicely.
Yeah, well, we have been working on that in practice, because I was telling my coach that with my long legs, when I go into the curve, I feel like I'm going to trip myself. So we have been working on it.
Congratulations on a good race.
All right, thank you.
And so hard work pays off for Essie Washington, the winner of the women's 800 meters at 2:04.9 unofficially. We'll be back in a moment for the glamour event of any track meet, the men's mile.
First lap, slow, tactical race.
Well, you have some women who are really somewhat new to this event. You have someone like Linnell Miller, who's in lane 6, who's a former 400-meter runner and just getting to know this event. And that sort of thing will lead to some odd paces sometimes. Here it seems they're running a little bit conservatively. No one's running that quickly right now.
And the state of women's 800-meter running in the world this year. None of these women, of course, made the world championship team, but are we in a good spot against the rest of the athletes in the world right now?
I think our best women are still a little bit on the periphery of the world leaders. We have 3 excellent women, Delisa Floyd, Meredith Rainey, and Joetta Clark, who are running in the 1:58 to 2-minute range, but they've got to get down to 1:57 to be world class. We'll expect a race here around 2:05, 2:06 today.
Okay, Jane Brooker takes the lead with 1 lap to go, but Cynthia Bales does not want to relinquish the lead. She stays in front in the red. That is Cynthia Bales, followed by Jane Brooker and Sonia Cooper Sutherland in third. Still the first 4 or 5 very much in the race.
Well, they've made a good run running through in around 62 seconds for the first 400 meters, and they're pushing it in the third 200. A lot of times, relatively inexperienced runners will lag in the third 200 and then try to sprint the last lap. In the 800, you've got to push it in the third 200 to get the most out of your body and the most out of your race. And these 2 women in front have been going head-to-head now this whole second lap.
Bales in the red and Brooker in the blue battling the entire second lap. It looks as though that will be the race, but watch out from behind. They have got to have expended some energy. It's Cynthia Bales leading over Jane Brooker, but Brooker not willing to give up. They fought all the way around the second lap. They're stride for stride down the home stretch. It's Jane Brooker of the East team right now. It appears as though she will get the victory. It's Jane Brooker, Cynthia Bales, and Marilyn Gilliard up for third place. And she's really running the best, probably Jane Brooker of this particular group. As we said, did not make the final at the national championships, but has run in the 2:04, mid-2:04 area this year.
And she's not far off of that. And that whole last lap was just so tough. They ran alongside of each other. They were running stride for stride, pushing it the whole way. That's a tough way to run. And when she made her move here, it wasn't a move where she put anyone away, but she did take the lead slightly and kept the pressure on. That's important. She was able to hold it all the way to the finish line. She's run some 1,500 meters. I think in the latter stages of the race, that strength helped her.
Next on the track will be Jane Brooker of the East team. We'll be back with the official results, 2:05.2.
Meanwhile, on the track right now, the women's 800 meters. You're looking at a live race right now. The one to watch is Maria Mottola. She has been challenging records ever since we've been following her on U.S. Olympic gold. Christina Wachtel has the world mark. She set that in 1988. Mottola the championship record a year ago. And Craig, I think she keeps getting better all the time.
And I think she has a legitimate shot at the world record. The only person in this field who might challenge her at the bottom of the list, Joetta Clark, herself a 4-time U.S. indoor champion, and she's going to have to make a tough choice, because when this woman from Mozambique goes out in front, Joetta Clark knows it's going to be a serious race.
4 laps. That's Joetta Clark right there.
Clark says she needs to be aggressive to have a chance against someone like Maria Mottola. And I talked with Maria Mottola's advisor and part-time coach Jeff Fund, and he says she can set the world record, but I don't think she's going to set it unless she takes the lead and pushes it, and she's obviously not doing that now.
It's Joetta Clark just ahead of Maria Mottola. As they come around, that's Jane Brooker in third. But it's Clark and Mottola.
Well, this makes it a more interesting race, because Joetta Clark felt that what she was giving away to Maria Mottola in races earlier in the season was letting her take the lead and dictate the pace of the race. Now it's Joetta Clark who who has so much experience at age 31, who's taking the lead. She's setting the pace that she's comfortable with, and Maria Mottola can only react to what Clark does right now.
It's the same two that vied for the championship a year ago. Maria Mottola setting that championship mark. Joetta Clark was second. But right now, it's Joetta Clark with the lead over Maria Mottola.
Last year's World Indoor Championships, it was Maria Mottola who won. Clark finished third, and they were only 61 seconds at the 400-meter mark. So Mottola, impatient with that pace, gets a little bit by her, leans that shoulder in, and now takes the lead.
So Maria Mottola takes the lead. They're coming up.
Clark needs to get right back on her shoulder and let her know that she's not giving her this race. But that's hard to do with Maria Mottola. She's so strong. She's been working on strength work this year, not so much on speed, which you would think would make her a little bit vulnerable. But off that slow pace, she's now using her strength as well as her speed to pull away.
Extending the lead, Maria Mottola, the defending champion. 1:59.63, the meet record she set a year ago. And she's going to be just over that time, but Maria Mottola, for the second year in a row, wins the women's 800 meters at the USA Motor Garden, the 87th running of the Millrose Games. And it is now time for the women's 800 meters with an outstanding field, including the world record holder, Christina Wachtel.
Wachtel not the favorite in the race, though. That has to be Maria Mottola, who last year won it all, the indoor and outdoor world champion, the former left-wing soccer player from Mozambique who trains in the United States. What an amazing year she had. Just dominated every race she was in.
Won here at the Millrose Games, was undefeated after that and ever since. Five-time winner Joetta Clark.
Well, she knows something about running in this meet. This is her 15th appearance in the Millrose Games. She missed 1 year, 1984, but she's been in every race other than that since 1979. America's best 800-meter runner over the last few years. And there's Wachtel, the world indoor champion 3 times and the world indoor record holder.
She also has the Millrose Games record, but that could fall here tonight. The Millrose Games record, 2:01.31. Wachtel set that at 91.
It'll be interesting to see how Maria Mottola runs this race. Last year she tried different strategies, sometimes running from the front, sometimes coming from behind.
She goes to the front here along with Joetta Clark. 5.5 laps, the women's 800 meters. Early in her career, we always saw Mottola from far back, but I guess she has definitely improved her strategy.
Well, she's just become so much more confident. In the past, she had a lot of speed and was not thought of as much of a 1,500-meter runner. Over the last couple of years, Jeff and Margot Fund, who work with her out in Oregon, have given her more distance running strength. She runs a good 1,500 meters now, so that allows her to run from the front or the back.
I know it's early in the race, but is this over?
I don't think you can say that. You have 2 experienced runners behind her. Joetta Clark, one of the best female middle distance runners in American history, in second place, and Christina Wachtel, as we said, 3-time world indoor champion in this event. But they better get up with her, because otherwise she's going to run away from them in this third quarter. 58 seconds at the 400-meter mark. That is fast on this track, so she may be vulnerable over the last part.
Maria Mottola extending her lead, 2 laps to go. Joetta Clark holding on to second.
I know you were predicting a meet record before this race, and as you said, 2:01 the meet record, so she's well under that pace. Wachtel seems out of it. Very important now for Joetta Clark to make her move if she's going to have any chance. The problem is Mottola is just so strong.
The gun lap for Maria Mottola, who took the lead right from the start. Joetta Clark has been running a consistent second, trying to close that gap, which is now a good 10 meters.
Mottola at age 15.
Mastakova and Mottola safely through to the semi-finals of the women's 800 meters. Mastakova, the winner of that particular race, 2 minutes 2.51 shown.
Well, we're just seeing here, this is, I think, where the bunching and pushing and shoving went on. You can see how close these girls are together. And in indoor competition, there's always a tendency to get too close to the rest of the competitors. There's a bit of shoving and pushing going on there. But really, no question in the end who was going to qualify. Mottola here in the green and the red, and just on her outside. You see Mastakova making her move at that point with about 300 meters to go before the finish. Mastakova controlling it from there on in, but really Mutola always, I think, in control. There she is looking around, checking the opposition, and these two quite comfortably looking at one another. They're going to go through, and just behind Paulovicini there, Lithuania will have to wait to see if she qualifies.
Well, there's confirmation of the result, and in fact Youngmans was disqualified. She was the one that really pushed her way through. As it was, she was tailed off in 4th place, so it didn't make many differences. But here we come now to the 4th and final heat to see who will go through. Yevseyeva and Clark went through from heat 1, Ella Kovac and Afanasieva from 2, and we've just seen Mastakova and Mutola. So the lineup was Storchova of the Ukraine perhaps will be the favorite, Brucker of the USA on the inside, then Huneker, Parker, Konstantin together with Storchova. So Huneker of Germany is the inside there, Steve.
Well, I think these girls, obviously in the last of these heats, have got a good position to actually judge whether they need to go fast in order to get some of the rest of them through as the fastest of the losers. But having said that, they've gone through perhaps a lot slower than the others, so they're really dicing with death here, really, because if they go through at this pace, it's only the first 2 to qualify. The others really are going to be well out of it.
Yeah, somewhat naive tactics, one might say, unless they're all confident of taking one of those first 2 spots. So it's Storchova in the blue vest of the Ukraine who's in the lead. From Huneker, then Jackie Parker of Great Britain, Konstantin of Romania, and Brucker of the USA. To say that none of these women are probably amongst the favourites for the title. We've seen those in action already, though Storchova had a best of 1:59.09 last year, and Konstantin of Romania is at the back end of the field at the moment, is a former European indoor medalist. But Steve, that time is really very slow.
Oh yeah, it's appallingly slow, really. I mean, I think this means that, as I said before, they're going to really have to fight it out for the just 2 places in this to qualify. And it's going to be really down to the sprinters, I think, because it's so slow so far. Storchova's done all she can do, really, which is to get out there and to dictate the pace, but it hasn't been very fast at all, so watch out for fireworks on the last lap.
But Konstantin of Romania coming right round the field to make sure that she's in contention, and she and Storchova go through in 1:36. Well, we can be sure that none of the fastest losers are going to, in fact, come from this particular race. They're all going to have come from the faster, earlier heats. But seems to have plenty of running left, Storchova and Konstantin, and these two going clear of the field. Huneker of Germany in 3rd place, then Brucker, and Britain's Jackie Parker tailing off rather badly. Very disappointing run from her. So coming into the finish now, Storchova making absolutely certain the race. She's really controlled it from the beginning. Konstantin also safely through, and those two are the only ones who will make it from a rather disappointing 4th heat of the women's 800 metres. So there's the confirmed result, Storchova and Konstantin, 2:06 and 2:07 respectively. And that's the end of the women's 800 metre heats.